Alright, so I'm starting a radiator job on this 2007 GMC. It's the same for the Chevys, the Silverados of the same years. Should be from 2007 to 2013, this procedure here. So I know it looks like I have a lot done here actually, but this only took me probably about 10 minutes. And all I've removed is this shroud here, okay, which goes up top. It sits across here, okay, and that was pretty simple. Here you have these push pins, right? You have these things, and they're down, so all you gotta do is pull them up. I use some needle nose to pull them up, and there was however many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think. Yeah, should have been 8 of those. After that, just to make it easier to see underneath, you have this this shroud here, and that's just 4 15 mil bolts, and that's fairly simple too. That is just squeak in here, so the lights pour, but it just goes from the bottom of the subframe here. There's one bolt here, one bolt here, and then lights a little bad, sorry, and then one here and one here. And once you get under it, it's very simple to see. Those 4 bolts take off that shroud for access, and then as you can see, it's just straight through. So all I've done to the actual radiator is I've taken off all the hoses, right? So this was this top hose going into here. They have these special clamps, which most cars have now. I used to have the special set of pliers for that. Now all I use is these channel locks, and you can adjust them in and out to make it work for you. These usually work just fine. Be careful with those because they will snap back at you, the clamps, if you go too far. So I disconnected this hose. The radiator drain plug is down here. It's hard to see. It's just a wing nut, so you turn that off. And you can drain it. After I disconnected the top radiator hose, I also I pulled this clamp loose from the shroud that was here, which you'll notice is missing, and that was the last thing that I removed before starting this video. Alright, and so the way this sits, and where that thing went was just right in here. I just pulled it up, and it holds the upper radiator hose along here. Pull that up. You take the 2 13 mil bolts off the top, right, which are simply here and the same spot on the other side, and that electric fan assembly literally pulls up, okay? There are 2 fan harness connectors here, connected to each fan. It's a dual fan electric fan, so you just push. You push on that and pull both of them. Those come loose, and that fan assembly literally just pulls right up. It pulls right up out. I think I had issues with the air intake being on the way, and all you had to do was push it out of the way a little. So just push it out of the way. That lifted right up. So like I said, I know it looks like a lot already, but it only took probably about 5 or 10 minutes to get to this point. Maybe a little longer for you. I've done this job before. And then what I started working on was all the hoses on this side of the radiator. So there's these 2 transmission lines. There's a lower and an upper near where my thumb is. So these are covered. So the way these work, right, is, hey, let me try to get some light down here for you guys. So the way these work is they go into, maybe the upper one would be better. Try not to tilt the camera too much. So I know this was piss poor, but they go in like that, and then they go in, and there's a little clip that fits right on the inside there where my thumb is. Sorry that this is dark, it's hard to see. There's a little clip that goes in there that snaps in, and then this goes over it. So the first thing you're gonna do is you pull these out, right? And then in there, the clips look like this. I'll show you. And they just snap right in. So that's what the clip looks like. And all I do is I grab this this little pick and I just get under there and I just pull it up and then carefully pull it up. And then that line pulls right out. So like I said, there's an upper and a lower. Okay. Lower, upper, up here, still in. And then there's a pressure hose here. It's just a clamp, pulls right off. And then of course you got your lower radiator hose. So there's 4 lines on this side, lower radiator hose, 2 transmission lines, lower and upper, and then this pressurized line here, where the equalizes the pressure. And on this side it's simple, it's just the lower radiator hose, which is down here. It's hard to see, but you can't miss it. So that's where we're at now. So after that, after all that was removed, you have 13 mil bolts on either side, 2 of them, one here, one over there. These come out and now the radiator is loose. Okay, so I'm going to double check, make sure everything's disconnected, and I'm going to go to lift this thing out. Okay, sometimes you miss things, no big deal. You just got to be careful when you're pulling things out. If it doesn't come out easy, stop, double check before you yank anything and break it. So we're going to pull it out. Alright, so that is with the old radiator out, and it did just pull right out. For me, it was easier to pull it towards the passenger side and then out, just because of the lines over here was getting cut up a little bit. Nothing bad. You probably could just lift it straight up. So I did, while I was in here and had all this room, I cleaned up all down here with some grease, degreaser, a little bit of brake cleaner in the tougher spots. So I just cleaned it all up, just to make sure, you know, after the radiator is replaced, any residual coolant that might have been sitting up here in this tray, in case it leaked, I didn't mistake it for residual, when really, like, maybe there was another coolant leak somewhere or something. So it's always best to just remove as much as you can. You're not going to get all of it, but if you continue to have a steady leak, it's not going to be residual, and that's a good way to be sure. Alright, so I went and picked up the old radiator. So I'm going to get this out of the box, prep it if it needs any prep, and then I'll just set it back in simply by taking it out of the box, lowering it into its position down here. I believe this one went right here, and same on the other side. It's put on the other side, and you'll see it'll line up, and they just press right into those. And then the two bolts rather up top. So let me get it out of the box, seat it in. All right, so next we got this in. Okay, it's pretty simple. Just went right in. The only trouble we might have had was over here at the air box. If that's an issue, you can just unbolt the cap. There's 4 bolts, and just put the whole thing on top of the engine. But it's not that not that big of a pain. 2 13 mil bolts up top. Don't crank them too hard. Just get them snug. After you do those, we'll come over here. And again, it's hard to see, but I'm going to work on, before putting the electric fan assembly in, getting these lines in. There's the upper transmission cooler line. There's the pressurized hose, the equalizing hose there. And then even lower, very hard to see, but you have that bottom transmission line cooler, and then the big fat one here is the lower radiator hose. So getting those 4 lines on. And again, with the transmission cooler lines, we have these clips. So you're pushing the line, the line's going all the way in, and then you're just pushing this, and if you got it off, you'll see, you're putting that here and you're just pushing it. And it only goes in the bottom here, where it comes down, has to fall into one of the recesses, right where my thumbnail is. Alright, and then of course the black plastic piece snaps over it to keep it in place. Alright, so we'll do that, and then we'll work on getting the lines on this side are in. There was actually 5 lines. If you can see, there's lower radiator hose, lower transmission cooler line, this small line here, upper transmission cooler line, and then this thick one right above it that goes in right here. So there's 5. Okay, so those go in. So now all you gotta do is, we're gonna grab this, right? These 3 tabs at the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, are gonna fit into the bottom as we put this in. So it's usually very simple. I'm gonna try to do it with one hand. You know, I'm gonna have some trouble with that upper radiator hose, so I'm gonna have to put this down. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just slip it right down, there's 3 tabs in the bottom fit in, and then the two 13 mil bolts.
So along with the 3 tabs at the bottom, which you can't see now, on each side, it fits into this little clip on the radiator. On the sides there, that little black clip, so they slip into that as well. The other side's a little harder, so you gotta kind of help it. Then you got the two 13 mil bolts up top, one there, one on the other side. We can plug in the fans, which are just going to be as simple as, where are we here? Down, up, coming from underneath, just pushing them back up. You hear the click. Same on this side. If you can see it. And this is a little out of my reach here. Yeah, so I'm kind of fighting it here. But same on the other side. I know you can't see, but you got a click. I felt it. Okay. Over on this side here. Oh, this is upside down. Sorry, guys. So there's these clips here that hold the cooler lines in place. So those go back. You hear the snap. Okay. There's this one right here. There's a lower one too. I'm not going to be able to get it holding the phone, so I got to get that one. And then we tighten everything up. Things like this stuff here, like these clips, right? So obviously, like that held this hose here. I think that was really the only one for this. So let me tighten everything up. All right. So that was the last piece here. Was the upper radiator hose. So I put that on. Saved it for last because obviously this electric shroud fan shroud here wouldn't have fit in with that in place. This goes back in place here. Okay, and now you're just checking for all the small stuff, double checking everything you did, making sure you didn't miss anything. I double checked all those lines down there. That's the important thing. Okay, is all your lines, making sure that all the lines are back where they're supposed to be. Okay, so now, and everything looks good. So now make sure the drain valve is closed. You'll see on this radiator here, the one I got, it came with like an auxiliary cooler, I guess for oil or transmission, even though this one already has a separate cooler. But so that's no big deal. Just leave the caps on. You could even leave them off. Nothing's gonna leak out because nothing's going in. But moisture could get in there and maybe cause some problems. So I chose to leave the caps on. If you take any of the air intake off, make sure that's back. And the last step now is to fill it with coolant. So coolant reservoir is full, as you can see there. Okay, or close to full. A little thing I like to do with a job like this is give the upper and lower radiator hoses a little squeeze to help the air out. You'll see air bubbles come up through the reservoir. Top that off, keep the cap off with the funnel in there like that. And now I'm going to start it, and basically the most important thing to watch for is leaks. Any major leaks right away, anything like that, so I'll be getting underneath. And then after that, like any small leaks or stuff like overheating, things like that. And of course watch on the coolant level. Okay. So this probably is the best vantage point up here for leaks. Okay, up here is the upper radiator hose. Okay, nothing too obvious. Over here's where most of your lines are. You're going to be looking for anything wet down here. Probably be hard to tell, especially if it's that lower radiator hose. But just coming down and making sure that generally there's nothing dripping. Okay, and you're going to do this for about 10 or 15 minutes. Because the thermostat doesn't open until the engine gets up to temperature 160 or 180 or whatever. Okay, you can see immediately the coolant went down. So I'm going to be filling the coolant back up here, because if it gets too low, like it just did, you're just letting air back in the system, so it's pointless. So watching that reservoir, making sure it doesn't get too low. Okay, which it's just eating this stuff up right now. You can see I'm pouring this in and it's just going down, down, down. If you have to walk away to get more coolant or go to the store, just if you're gonna leave the truck unattended or the car unattended at all, just kill it, shut it off. Don't let it run with low or no coolant. Okay, so it's taking quite a bit of coolant, and it will take quite a bit with all the coolant that you lose from the radiator and the engine. So I gotta get more, so I'm gonna shut this off.
So sorry for the noise. It's raining pretty good now out here. But yep, so it's all good now. Let it run.
Check the leaks underneath. I put that bottom shroud back on. The 4 15 mil bolts. I don't see anything. I checked it good. It's been about 20 minutes watching it. Fluid level's still good. Temperature's good. So you're still going to want to monitor the vehicle for a day or two, especially the coolant level and the engine temperature. Make sure there's no more leaks. And that's all there is to it. 2007 Sierra and Silverado.